I can't hear you anymore there. Let's have a look. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Ah, right. Yes, I can hear you now, but all of a sudden it cut. So you're talking about your Japanese. What were you saying about your Japanese, Hannah?
I mean, apart from learning French, I also learning Japanese and
That's
English.
right. Yes.
So I have Japanese courses, and yeah, it just so many things to do for me. Like I have to work, I have to take French courses, of course, with you, and I have registered for a systematic course with uh like with a Chinese French teacher.
Right.
Yeah, like and also some Japanese courses and English writing courses because I want to be a journalist or an editor after
Wonderful. Oh,
graduation in the
excellent.
UK. Yeah.
Yes. Actually, for women, you would say an actress. It's normally for the man, we would say actor. So you would want to be an actress
No,
rather than an actor.
not actor, an editor. Editor.
Oh, editor. Sorry. I thought you said actor. So I thought you wanted to go to Hollywood to be a film
No,
star. You don't want to be a film star in Hollywood. No.
no, that's
Uh,
not my type.
right. So I understood the word actor, but you meant editor. Is
Yeah,
that right?
yeah, like
Right. Okay.
writing. Yeah,
I
because I
think
also
it's just,
have writing.
yes. Mm-hmm. Yes, that's good. Actually, being a journalist or an editor or both. Yes, that's absolutely brilliant. Very good, Hannah. So, you sent me some information in the italki message section. So, you wanted to have a systemic course and on how to indicate time and how to say comparative sentences in French. Okay, in comparative sentences, you say they even confuse you sometimes in English, especially in terms of times. Okay, well, we can look at that both in English and in French if you like. So we can have what's called a Frenglish lesson. Have you heard of Frenglish before? When you have French and English mixed together,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
uh,
I know.
and it's also called franglais quand on a le français et l'anglais mélangés ensemble. Anna, tu connais le franglais?
Yeah, je le connais.
Ah, excellent, très bien. Alors, voilà, on peut continuer en français maintenant. Alors, pour l'heure, ben, on va commencer avec l'heure en ce moment. Alors, Anna, dis-moi, là où tu es, euh, quelle heure est-il? Là où tu es en ce moment, Anna.
Euh, c'est 2 heures après-midi.
Donc, 2 heures de
Oh,
l'après-midi.
deux,
Donc,
deux heures, vingt,
2
deux
heures
heures,
20.
euh, 21 minutes.
Voilà. Donc, et il est en ce moment 2 heures et 20 et une, because minute is feminine, so you don't say 21, you said 21
Ok.
minutes.
Oui.
So, 2 heures et 21 minutes. On peut abréger ça et dire 2 heures. Euh, on peut dire quand on abrège, on met pas le mot minute après, alors on dit il est 2 heures à 20, 21. Voilà, on peut dire ça comme ça.
Ah oui. Et comment on prononce vingt, un?
20. Donc, quand euh, on dit dans une phrase le mot 20, alors on dit il est 2h21. 1, par exemple, parce
Okay.
qu'il y a le et qui vient après. Mais quand on compte, on peut dire 20, c'est-à-dire 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Donc là, on n'a pas besoin de prononcer le T. Euh, quand il y a 20 choses, par exemple, on peut écrire ça comme ceci. Il y a 20, euh,
22.
oui, ou 22, mais quand c'est 20, 22, là, on entend mieux. Mais quand on dit il y a 20 choses, on ne dit pas il y a 20 choses, on dit il y a 20 choses.
Oui.
Parce que,
Euh,
oui, dis-moi,
par
Anna,
exemple,
oui,
j'ai 20 ans ou
oui.
j'ai 20 ans.
Voilà, on dit bien j'ai 20 ans, donc ça c'est juste,
Oui.
euh, parce que il y a euh, le son d'une voyelle au début du mot qui suit le mot 20. Et alors, quand il y a une voyelle qui suit, ou en tout cas le son d'une voyelle, comme avec 2h21, là, on doit prononcer le T de 20 et ça devient 2h21. Mais si on a un mot comme chose euh, qui commence avec une consonne, ou en tout cas le son d'une consonne, alors on ne prononce pas le T à la fin du mot 20 et on dit il y a 20 choses.
Oh oui.
Est-ce que tu vois la différence, Anna?
Oh oui. Je
Oui,
le sais.
très bien.
J'ai une question. Par
Oui, bien
exemple,
sûr. Mhm.
j'ai 21 questions ou j'ai 21 questions. J'ai 21.
Alors, question, c'est féminin, donc il faudrait dire j'ai 21 questions. On
Ok.
prononce le T de 20 parce que une commence avec le son d'une voyelle, le U, alors on doit dire 21. Ouais, parce que, oui, et aussi, parce que c'est surtout le et qui est après le 20, donc 21 questions. Mais euh, si par exemple on dirait euh, j'ai 20 maisons. Donc là, c'est donc une consonne. euh, et alors, comme c'est une consonne, la lettre M au début du mot maison. Donc
Oui,
j'ai 20 maisons. On ne prononce pas le T à la fin du mot 20.
oui,
On
oui.
dit tout
Je le
simplement
sais.
j'ai 20 maisons. Tu comprends ça, Anna?
Oui, je comprends.
D'accord. Ça, c'est bien. Donc, maintenant, on peut s'exercer avec les différentes heures. Alors, par exemple, euh, je vais dire l'heure en anglais et toi, tu vas essayer de dire l'heure en français. D'accord, Anna?
Ah oui, d'accord.
D'accord. So, when it's 1 o'clock, Hannah, how do you say that in French?
Alors,
Voilà.
une heure.
Okay. But can you say the complete sentence like it is 1 o'clock? How would you say it is 1 o'clock in French?
Il a une heure.
Donc, not il a, because that would be saying it has 1 o'clock, but it doesn't
Il,
have 1 o'clock.
il a,
It is 1 o'clock. So
il
it has
a,
to be the verb to be rather than the verb to have. So instead of saying il a, how would you say that with the verb to be rather than the verb to have, Hannah?
il a, il a
Voilà. Il est,
une heure.
voilà. Il est, because that's the verb to be rather than the verb to have. Donc, il est 1 heure. Because obviously you do the liaison with a T of est and the U of une, which is following the word est. So, il est une heure. Liaison. There we are with the T. So that's great. That's good. Il est une heure. Now, how would you say it's 1:30?
Euh, 1:30.
Yes.
Il a 1h30.
Voilà. Donc, il est 1h30. So, 1h30. Now, you have the E at the end of demi because you have the word heure in front, which is feminine. So you have to have the agreement when you have a feminine noun in front of the word demi. Okay. Now, how would you say it's an hour and a quarter?
Il a 1h
Not
et
il a, because that's it has, but it's rather it is. Il est. That's right. Il est une heure.
Quinte.
So, 1h15. That's right. Quart meaning a quarter. So, 1h15, like that. I've just written it in the Skype chat for you. Il est 1h15. That's right, because quart is a quarter. So, it's an hour and a quarter. Okay. How would you say it's an hour and 3/4?
Il a 1h à
Remember,
3
it's never il a, but it's always il est. So,
Oui.
il est, that's
Il
right.
a 1h à 3 quarts.
That's right. Il est 1h et 3/4. Il est 1h et 3/4. How would you say it's a quarter to 2?
Il a 1h 3 quarts.
No, a quarter to 2. It's not 1 heure because 2 is deux, so it's not une. So, how would you say it's a quarter to 2? You have to use the word 2 in there.
I think in English, like a quarter to 2 is 1:45, right?
I know, but you need to be able to say it. I know it's the same thing, but you need to be able to say it the other way and at least understand it the other way because other people may use the other way, even if you prefer using an hour and 3/4. If somebody prefers to say a quarter to 2, you need to be able to understand that and be able to use that yourself as well. So you need to tell me now the alternative version of 1:45 or 1 hour and 3/4. How would you say a quarter to 2? Il est?
Il a
Never,
un
never il a and always il est. Yes, il est.
il a
Yes.
il a un gars à 2 heures.
Well, you see, you know that in French, between French and English, it's always inverted. And here, once again, we are inverting it. So we're not saying it's a quarter to 2. We're saying it's 2 hours. So il est 2 heures minus a quarter. And that's how the French say it. They first of all talk about the hours, then they talk about the quarter afterwards. Donc, so we say il est 2 heures moins le quart, which is minus the quarter. Donc, il est 2 heures moins le quart means it's a quarter to 2, or it's 2 hours less the quarter, or minus the quarter. Do you see that, Hannah?
Yeah, oui,
Okay.
je le comprends.
Okay. Très bien, excellent. Alors, comment est-ce qu'on dit it's a quarter to 3?
Il a 3 heures moins
Not
le
il
quart.
a. Repeat after me. Il est.
Il est.
Right.
Il est.
Yes. Il est.
Yeah. Il a 3 heures moins le quart.
That's right. Il est 3 heures moins le quart. Very good. So that's a quarter to 3.
Oui.
Now, how would you say it's 1:15.
以来
Il est.
以来
That's right. Il est.
以来
Yes,
une friend.
that's right. Il est 1h15. So they just say 1h15. Donc, il est 1h because you have to do the liaison. So,
Oh,
il est 1h15. Okay. How about it's 1:05?
以来
Il est.
d'une 以来 d'une one 5.
So, not -5. If it's
Oh,
not 5 minutes to 1, but it's 1:05.
oh, 以来 干着
Oh,
sorry,
15 heures. That's 3 o'clock in the afternoon. 15
uh,
heures. But here it's 1:05.
oh, 5 past 1.
Yes,
Oh, that's 5 past 1. Oh, il a 5.
that's right. Il est 1h05. So what about 1:10?
Il a 1h10.
That's right. Il est 1h10. And then, of course, it's the same thing with 20:01, 25:01, 35:01, 45, even 1:55. Il est 1h. How would you say 1:55?
Il a 1h55.
That's right. Il est 1h55. Very good. Now, if it's, I don't know, 25 to 2, how would you say it's 25 to 2?
Il a 2h moins 25.
That's right. Il est 2 heures. So I'm just going to write this for you. Il est 2 heures moins 25. There we go. Il est 2 heures moins 25. How would you say it's 20 to 1? Or 20 to 2, rather. 20 to 2.
Il a 2h moins 1.
That's it. So, il est 2 heures moins 20. That's right. So, I think that's good for that. So that's quite good for the times there. Il est 2 heures moins 20 when it's 20 to 2. 2 heures moins 20. Okay, so let's think. What else could we do with the times?
Yeah,
Yes?
I'd like to learn some like prepositions
Mhm.
before, for example, before a week, before months, before years, things like that. Yeah,
Mm.
I always confuse those prepositions.
Right. So you have difficulty with the prepositions. So give me a sentence in English with one of those prepositions, and then we'll translate it into French.
I think you can ask me.
Okay, I'll give you a sentence then in English, and then you translate it into French. For example, I did it last month.
Je l'ai fait
Je l'ai
le mois.
fait. Je l'ai
Ah,
fait.
oui, je l'ai fait le mois dernier.
Yes, I
Ah,
suppose you
il
could
y a
say le mois dernier, but that's not the usual way of saying it. How would the native level native level French speakers say that?
il y a un mois.
Yes, you could say that as well. Je l'ai fait il y a un mois, so you're quite right. That is another way of saying it, but the more usual way I'll give it to you. Je l'ai fait le mois passé. Are you familiar with that?
Quelle est la différence entre le mois passé et le mois dernier?
Well, dernier means last, passé means past, and il y a un mois, it would be like saying a month ago. Can you see the difference between the three, Hannah?
I don't know the difference between past and last, but I know the difference of like last month. I know that, but I don't know. I I I don't even know that in English what's the difference between past and last.
Okay. So, well, the difference in the use of those expressions is that in French we use past more than last, but there are cases where you can only use last and you can only use past. Alors, 3 months passed after the event. So, how would you say that in French, Hannah? 3 months passed after the event.
Ça fait 3 mois après l'activité.
Well, if you say ça fait 3 mois, that means it's been 3 months after the activity. But here we don't want to say how long it's been since. We want to say how much time has passed after the event.
3 mois sont passés.
Se sont passés, because you, in French, have to use the reflexive. So you would say 3 mois se sont passés, because if you say 3 mois passés, ou 3 mois sont passés, it's like saying that the months not themselves pass by, but they pass something on to somebody else. But the months didn't pass an object on to somebody else, like when you say, I'm going to pass the parcel to you. If you know the game Pass the Parcel, which you play at birthday parties. Here, it's the months have passed themselves, so it has to be reflexive. It's not transitive. The months aren't passing something to somebody else or to something else. So we have to say 3 mois se sont passés. Okay, what comes next?
Après l'activité.
Or event is événement, because activité is activity. Here it's event rather than activity. So how would you say event in French, Hannah?
Événement.
That's it. Événement. So 3 mois se sont passés après l'événement. Now, can you see in that case, you cannot use the word dernier? Could you say that in French with the word dernier, Anna?
Dernier.
Because you were asking me the difference between passé and dernier, between past and last. How could you say that with dernier, which is last?
L'événement, ça roulait il y a 3 mois.
So you're saying l'événement. What did you say after l'événement, Hannah?
L'événement.
Yes.
L'événement. L'événement a eu lieu il y a 3 mois.
Yes, that would be il y a 3 mois, because we said that was another way of saying it. But you were asking me the difference specifically between past and last, between the mot passé in French and the word dernier in French. Now, we could say when we said I did it last month, je l'ai fait le mois dernier instead of je l'ai fait le mois passé. But how would you use the word dernier in this sentence, 3 months passed after the event? Can you use the word dernier in French when translating this sentence?
Okay, but dernier is an adjective. It's not a verb, but passé can be a verb.
Right. Here we can use passé, but we can't use dernier. We can't say 3 months lasted after the event, or the last 3 months after the event. That means something else. But to say the 3 months passed after the event, here you can only use passé in French instead of dernier. Now, dernier instead of passé, if you were to say a sentence where you can only use dernier and not passé, what is the last month of the year? For example, here you're using the word last instead of past. So how would you translate this into French, Hannah? What is the last month of the year?
Qu'est-ce que le mois?
Not qu'est-ce que. What is quel est.
Okay. Quel est
Yes.
le mois dernier dans l'année?
Well, you wouldn't say le mois dernier, you would say le dernier mois. Quel est le dernier mois? Okay. Because if you say le mois dernier, that would be like the last month, le mois dernier. It means the month that happened last month. That means like the months that just passed by. It's like saying what is the month that has just passed by in the year. But here we're not asking what is the month that's just passed by in the year. Well, obviously that would be June, because we're in the month of July, but we're asking what is the last month of the year. You see the difference between June and the last month of the year, which is?
Oh oui, je le sais, je le comprends.
Tu comprends, d'accord. Alors, on dit quel est le dernier mois
Oui.
de
l'année?
Voilà. Quel est le dernier mois de l'année? Now, here you're using the word dernier instead of passé, and you see the difference. You try to use passé, and it would mean something different, because if you're asking what is the month that's just passed in the year, well, that would be June, because we're in the month of July. So it's not the same as December, which is the last month of the year. So you see, whether you're using dernier, meaning last, or passé, using past, it can have a totally different meaning, and the question can be totally different and have a totally different answer. Do you see that, Hannah?
Yeah.
Right. Okay, that's good. So, well, I mean, that's given you an idea of different times and different words talking about things that happened in the past, like last month. Now, the other thing that you asked about was to do the comparative sentences in French. So we can now do the comparative sentences. And to do the comparative sentences, what forms of the comparative do you already know, Hannah? Quelle forme du comparatif est-ce que tu connais déjà en français?
We use plus to show comparative.
Sorry, you use what to show the comparative, you said?
Plus.
Plus. Okay. Plus or plus, it can be both. It depends on the sentence, whether you pronounce it plus or plus. Okay, so that's one way of saying it. And so that's when it's more. And what's the other way?
moins,
Moins. Okay, so that's less. And another way of comparing, which other,
autant,
sorry, you said?
autant,
Autant, right. Autant, meaning, what does that mean, autant?
the same as.
The same as, or as much as, exactly. So let's have a few sentences with that. For that, I can help you with a text. Let me just find that text for you. And this should help you with the comparatives, the comparative sentences. So I'm sending you this in the Skype chat, Hannah. Voilà. Alors, je dois juste éviter que ce soit écrit deux fois parce que parfois avec le chat de Skype, c'est écrit deux fois.
Oui, mais je ne peux pas l'ouvrir.
Voilà, c'est parce que ça a été écrit deux fois. It's because Skype sometimes does a double copy paste or single copy but double paste. So now you should be able to open it. Tu peux l'ouvrir maintenant, Anna?
Non, pourrais tu partager ton...
You still can't open it. Okay. Well, if you can't open it in the Skype chat, I can send it to you in the iTalki message section, and that way, maybe if you do a copy paste of the link in your navigator or browser, you might be able to open it up. Can you copy what I wrote, what I posted in the iTalki message section, and put that in your navigator or browser and try and open it up. Can you open it up, Hannah?
No.
You can't. Okay.
No.
Not to.
It's blocked in
It's
China
blocked.
because of the firewall.
Oh, yes, I know. It's because of the censorship. They consider you learning comparative sentences as being a high risk situation. You know, this could be
to the government, perhaps.
yes, this could be a threat to security. You know, if you knew the comparative sentences, you could compare China with other countries, and they wouldn't want the comparison to be negative for them in case you found other countries as being more positive and China being less negative. So that's why they don't want you to learn the comparative sentences, so you can't say that China is less good or not as good or worse than other countries. You see what I mean, Hannah?
Yeah, I know.
That's English humor, by the way. That's a joke, so don't worry about it. Okay, that's great. So now let's have a look. I'll just do a copy paste of the actual website, so that way at least you have all the information, even if you can't open it up directly. And I'm putting this in the Skype chat. So can you see that, Hannah, what I've just put in the Skype chat?
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay, that's great. So I'll let you read what it says.
French, lawless French lesson and language tools from Laura.
Laura K. K is probably her middle name, like Kiki or something like that. Yes.
Yeah, lawless home.
Because her name is Lawless, actually. So it's not because the actual French lessons are without any law, lawless. It's just that's her name, Lawless. Okay. So let's go right down to where it says comparative adverbs. Can you see that?
Yeah.
It says it twice. First of all, after grammar lessons, it says comparative adverbs, and then a bit lower down, after in French, adverbe comparatif, we see once again comparative adverbs. So if you can just read from there on, then Hannah.
Okay. Comparative adverbs are used to compare the relative superiority or inferiority of two or more things. The superior lesson will keep you from getting an inferiority complex.
Yes, so that's a good thing. So by having a superior lesson, then there's no danger, no risk of you having an inferiority complex. So that was a little joke from the writer of this. So let's have a look at the three types of comparisons. Can you read that for me, please, then, Hannah?
Okay, a superiority indicates that something is bigger, faster, stronger, or more
Yes. Mm-hmm.
powerful, more large, more important. The
Mm-hmm.
French equivalent is plus.
Plus, and then something that comes after the plus. So, for example, if it's bigger, uh, how would you say that?
Plus grand,
That's right. If it's faster,
plus rapide,
good. If it's stronger,
euh, plus fort,
right. If it's more purple,
euh, plus pour, plus violet,
plus violet, ou plus
violet,
mauve, ou plus pourpre. Okay. What about more tired?
plus fatigué,
Very good. And more important,
plus important.
ah, now there's a difference.
Plus important,
Important starts with a vowel sound. So if you do the liaison with this word, plus, what will that give you in this expression, more important?
plus important.
That's right, plus important. Now, you see the difference in pronunciation of this word, plus or plus. So if it's plus fatigué ou plus violet, then you don't hear the S because there's no liaison. But in a word like plus important or more elaborate, plus élaboré ou more interesting, plus intéressant. You hear the liaison, don't you, Hannah?
Yeah, yeah.
Excellent. Okay, let's read the second point then.
Inferiority indicates that something is less hungry, less exciting, less complete. The French
Mhm.
equivalent is moins.
That's right. So let's have a few examples of that then. When you're having something that's less hungry, how would you say in French?
Moins, moins affamé.
Yes, that's less starving. But what's the word for hungry?
Je ne sais pas.
Faim. Have you heard of the word
Ah,
faim
oui,
before?
mais je
Okay.
pense à non. À non.
Sorry, what did you say? I didn't hear. You said
I think fun is a non.
faim is a no, a noun. Huh?
Yeah.
Yes, you could talk about une faim. Okay. So you can either use it as a noun, avoir moins faim que, that means to be less hungry than,
Okay.
or you could say être moins affamé que, to
Oh,
be less starving than. So it's avoir faim when you're hungry, it's être affamé
okay.
when you're starving. Can you see that some words are conjugated with the verb to be and other verbs conjugated with the verb to have? Can you see
Yeah.
that, Anna?
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. What about less exciting?
Moi accident. Moins accident.
Excité would be excited.
Yeah.
That's right. Excitant. Well done. You said it right. Exciting, excitant. What about less complete?
Moins complet.
Moins complet. Very good. So that's excellent. Let's read point 3 now, please, Hannah.
Okay. Equality indicates that two or more things are as happy, as thirsty, as interesting. The French equivalents are aussi and autant.
Right. Excellent. Thanks for reading that then, Hannah. So let's have a look. That was point 3. My Skype has just jumped, so I have to find our place again where we were in the Skype chat. It's a little bit blocked, but I'm trying to unblock it. What is it doing to me now? I don't know. Strange. There we are. It's operational again. Right, so that was point 3. And so with point 3, when you have this equality, how would you say as happy in French?
Autant content.
Normally, you wouldn't say autant content. You would say aussi content. That is to say, if I was as happy as you, I would say je suis aussi content que toi, Anna.
Oui, aussi.
Okay.
Oui,
Aussi content.
aussi
So for happy, it's aussi. Okay, for content, it's aussi. What about thirsty?
Autant soif.
So soif is, that's right, the word for thirsty. And what did you say?
Avoir autant soif.
Avoir autant soif. That's right. It's not avoir aussi soif, it's avoir autant soif. So let's take the case of hungry that we saw earlier, because we saw that there's two words for hungry, faim and affamé. Actually, for thirsty, you do actually have two words. You have soif and assoiffé.
Oui.
So, if it was hungry, how would you say the two ways of saying it, both with faim and affamé? Can you say the two ways using autant?
J'ai aussi affamé. Sorry. Je suis.
The suis, exactly. I am. You have to use the verb to be. That's it. Exactly. Donc, je suis aussi.
Je suis
Oui,
affamé.
oui.
Et j'ai autant faim.
Voilà. Donc, that's right. Je suis aussi affamé et j'ai autant faim. Now let's have it with soif and assoiffé. How would you say?
J'ai autant soif. Je suis autant.
Je
Je
suis autant. That's right.
aussi.
With a liaison. Je suis autant. Yes.
Je suis autant. Je suis aussi assoiffé.
That's right. Je suis donc donc j'ai autant soif et je suis aussi assoiffé. That's good. So let us look at the next. Oh, I see that. Oh, yes, but hang on. As we did, we start a little bit later. Let's see, what time did we start so I can give you the full time of your lesson.
Okay.
So finally, we started at. Yes, it was about a quarter past. So I'm just going to tell my next student if.
I think we can stop here and we can add the extra time to our next lesson. That's okay.
Yes. Okay, that's great. When I don't have another students immediately afterwards, when I don't have a lesson immediately afterwards, then I can give you an extra quarter of an hour or so. Okay, that's great. So tell me, how did you find it so far? Has this already helped you looking at those first 3 points between more, less, and as much as? Has that helped you, Hannah?
Yeah, that's very helpful because
Mhm.
before that I always confuse OC and ODON.
Right. So that is a good thing with aussi and autant. And it's good that you know also that there's two ways of saying that you're hungry. Well, the first one you said affamé was actually starving rather than hungry because the correct word for hungry is faim,
Yeah.
avoir faim. And then being thirsty is avoir soif. And to be dying of thirst, a bit like when you're dying of
Uh,
hunger and you're
mou-
starving,
mou-
you don't really
mourir,
have an equivalent. Sorry, you're saying?
mourir de femme, de
Mourir de
faim.
faim, that's right, or mourir de soif. So you don't have a word in English which is the equivalent of dying of thirst, like you do dying of hunger with starving, but dying of thirst, well, you just say you're very thirsty, or you're dying of thirst, but you don't have the word starving in English to make the distinction between just being hungry and being starving. But in French, there is that distinction. Can you see that? Soif,
Yeah.
thirsty, and assoiffé, like dying of thirst, extremely thirsty. You see that, Hannah? That's good. Excellent. So, comment est-ce que tu as trouvé cette leçon, Anna? Est-ce que c'était utile, intéressant? Est-ce que tu as pu apprendre des nouvelles choses?
C'est utile. Merci.
Avec plaisir, Anna. Je suis très content pour toi. Excellent. Merci beaucoup alors pour la leçon, Anna.
Euh,
Merci bien.
de rien.
Avec plaisir. Et donc, à la prochaine leçon. Donc, à très bientôt, Anna, pour la prochaine leçon.
Oui, à la prochaine fois.
À la prochaine fois. C'est gentil. Merci beaucoup. Porte-toi bien. Que tout se passe bien pour toi. Et donc, au plaisir qu'on puisse parler de nouveau ensemble lors de notre prochaine leçon. D'accord, Anna?
Et merci, au revoir.
Merci bien, avec plaisir. Au revoir, Anna.